My name is Jose Luis Alamo.
My name is Thomas Roach. I'm 69 years old.
My name is Joyce Granger. I was 17 when I was incarcerated in 1983.
I was 17 years old.
I was 15.
I'm the trigger man, and really it was an accident.
It was something like out of a movie. Like it just happened all at once, so fast.
Chain of events happened. How do you say, I killed a female. I stabbed her.
My name is Dwight Whetstone.
My name is Hayward Fennell. I'm a 68-year-old juvenile lifer.
I'm a juvenile lifer.
I made a bad decision, and a decision I live to regret for the rest of my life.
I shot him in the leg. He ended up bled to death.
I served 23 years and 8 months in prison.
I spent 35 years in prison, 35.
I was incarcerated for 23 years and 6 months.
I don't know exactly how many days, but I spent 48 years of my life in jail.
I was about maybe 20 days short of 50 years.
We were all teenagers when we went in.
That's one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life, which I would never forgive myself for.
I'm Michael Lehman. I was 14 years old when I was sent to prison for murder. I spent 30 years. I'm 45 now. And this is the story of my freedom.
This is a free call from
Michael Lehman.
an inmate at SCI Rockview. You may start the conversation now.
I probably think about some aspect of it almost every day. Just there's an incredible amount of guilt and shame, and it's just like this weight. I wish things had been different. I wish I could have been a different person. I don't know if I could have stopped the other people, but you know, I could have at least tried, and that's what I think about the most.
Not many of us can point to the one night and just a few moments of it that changed the course of our lives forever. But Michael Lehman can, and he can't stop thinking about it. June 18th, 1988. One night and the series of decisions he made on it changed his life, destroyed someone else's, and he'll never forgive himself for it. On that night, he was 14 years old.
There's a constant, if I'd just done this, or if I'd just done that, or, I don't know, I guess there's also part of me that doesn't want to forget. Like, I don't have that right to forget. I have to remember.
Michael's worst night of his life, as he still considers it, started with what was becoming a common occurrence in his early teenage years. He ran away from home. At the time, he was living in this group home for troubled boys on North George Street in York. It had been his home for more than 6 months, his choice, but he made a habit of sneaking out. And so while everyone else was home asleep on that late summer night in 1988, Michael snuck out again. He went looking for 2 other boys from the home, Dwayne Morningwake and Miguel Yoder, and Cornell Mitchell, a drug dealer who befriended the boys a few days earlier.
They were walking along these railroad tracks, and they said that they were going back to the group home.
At the railroad tracks, the boys and Cornell Mitchell devised a plan to go back to the group home and rob a counselor there, Kwame Beatty. Beatty wasn't supposed to be at the home that night, but he agreed to fill in so a coworker could go to a wedding. It's the kind of guy Kwame was, a dedicated young man who gave 100% of himself and was well regarded by all who knew him. But the boys thought Kwame was too harsh and too rule-oriented. So that night, they were out for revenge.
They were going in to get their stuff, their clothes, and steal the petty cash. So I went along with them.
Later, Michael would testify in court that he agreed to the plan because Cornell Mitchell threatened to kill him if he did not go along with it, and he didn't want to be seen as a wimp. So Michael offered to help with a key part of the plan, how to get inside undetected.
I explained to them that I had left the window open And we could go in through there. So that's what we did. We went to the home. While we're on the second floor, the floor where all the other residents and the other boys were sleeping, Cornell Mitchell pulled out this large knife and then a little steak knife and said that Dwayne, Morningwake, and Miguel Yoder were going to go downstairs with him, and I was to stay up here and make sure nobody woke up. And he gave me the small steak knife.
Michael waited upstairs with the knife as the others went down to Kwame's room. Then Michael heard noises. It sounded like a struggle. He left his post in the hallway to see what was happening downstairs, but the others would not open Kwame's door.
I went back upstairs and I closed all the doors to all the rooms where the boys are sleeping. And I kind of sat down in the hallway and I realized what was going on, that they weren't just robbing it, the place, that they were killing Kwame.
And killing him violently. As the two teens held Kwame on his bed, Cornell Mitchell stabbed him 21 times in the chest, neck, shoulder, and stomach. The mattress was completely soaked in blood. Blood splashed on the wall. When he no longer heard noises coming from the room, Michael again went downstairs. This time, the others let him in. They needed help ransacking the place.
I could see that Cornell was covered in blood, and he just kind of motioned at me with the knife to grab something. And I reached up on a shelf and grabbed the first thing I could find and ran back upstairs.
They stole cigarettes, a handful of cash, and Kwame's car key. Michael grabbed a box of Tasty Cakes, and they left in a hurry. No one would find Kwame until hours later, his body slumped on the floor with one leg still up on the bed.
I felt like I couldn't get out of the situation. I realize now, there was a million ways I could have got out of it, but at the time I couldn't. I just didn't see any of that.
Mitchell drove the boys in Kwame's car to Harrisburg. They dumped the knives and their bloody clothes and used the money they stole to buy bus tickets back to York. As they waited for the bus in the terminal that morning, mere hours after the murder, the boys fell asleep. Police arrested all four of them later that day in York.
I wish I had had enough courage to leave. I mean, the window was right there. I could have just left and went across the street or to the neighbor's house or anything.
30 years later, locked in state prison more than 100 miles from home, Michael Lehman regrets everything he did that night. Every bad decision, every passed up opportunity to get away, to get help, to stop it.
I could have told him, hey, let's not do this. I could have, opened that door and said stop. I could have done anything. And I did nothing. I just sat in the hallway and cried and prayed to God they wouldn't kill me next.
But you were sleeping and you got a phone
Yeah,
call
I
and
got
said
the
what?
phone call. It was like that my son was in at City Hall and that he had been involved in a murder.
Michael's mother Sharon's life also changed that summer night.
Yeah, so I went right in.
She met Michael at the police station not long after he was arrested. She remembers he looked scared, like a fish out of water, a 14-year-old boy detained by police for suspicion of murder. He was tired, about to be interrogated, and about to tell all.
He'd never been involved with any criminal activity before. So I couldn't understand that he was really that involved in it. I guess I just didn't even want to believe that it had happened.
She never believed, for most reasons, a mother would doubt her son would be involved in a murder. But Sharon's relationship with Michael was complicated. She took a chance on Michael, a son she raised by choice.
When he was 7 years old, he came to live with us.
Sharon and her husband at the time adopted Michael in 1980. His first 7 years before that were about as unstable as an early childhood could be. A child psychologist later described the family situation as very dysfunctional, that Michael was repeatedly abandoned and reabandoned, and that he's been seriously emotionally disturbed forever. He wasn't yet in 3rd grade.
It seems almost like a purging that was done, His father and his mother were both alive, and he had grandparents and nieces and nephews and things, but nobody stepped up and offered to care for him. So then he was put up for adoption.
When Sharon took him in, she says at first he was an angel. but then started getting into trouble. Petty things. He'd frustrate his teachers, get on the ground and bark like a dog. He bit all the heads off his action figures.
It was never anything violent. It was always just like pain in the neck things.
As Michael got a little older, he developed a habit of running away. He'd be gone for days at a time. The last time, he didn't come back and instead took himself to Children and Youth Services. They ultimately placed him at the group home on North George Street, the home where Kwame Beatty was murdered. And from where down the street at the police station, 14-year-old Michael Lehman confessed to being part of the crime. He told police everything.
I felt awful. I felt awful because I felt like I couldn't protect him, and I didn't, he was in the children's home so he could deal with these other problems, and instead of that, he's involved in a murder.
Cornell Mitchell and Miguel Yoder would later plead guilty for their roles in the crime. Dwayne Morningwake took his case to trial, as did Michael, who was then 15 years old and charged as an adult. He testified in his own defense, explaining the murder plan step by step. The whole time he thought since he was just the lookout, he could set the record straight and go home, and it would all be over.
People would realize, oh, he didn't participate in the murder, that I was just there, that I was scared, that all these things would come out, and everything would end up okay.
He was leaving the course of the rest of his life up to a jury of 12 strangers, and he was confident.
I just figured that there's no one who's going to look at the situation and find me guilty.
But the jury did not see things Michael's way. They found him guilty of robbery, guilty of conspiracy, and guilty of murder.
I just was stunned. I don't know how else to describe it. I was just stunned. Everything just shut down. Yes, I was there. Yes, I was a lookout. Yes, I stole something, and yes, I helped them dispose of evidence, but I didn't kill anyone. So how was I guilty of first-degree murder?
I just can't believe that it played out that way.
The jury then sentenced Michael to life in prison with no chance of parole. It was ready to give him the death penalty, but 4 jurors refused. When the trial was over, Michael went straight back to jail, where at 15 years old, he settled in to stay for the rest of his life.
I just couldn't understand it. How are they giving me a life sentence for what I did? Somebody will straighten this out. Somebody will fix this. And that's, what I latched onto and what I held out for. And that's how I was able to get through each day.
In prison, Michael Lehman met other inmates in his same situation. Boys and girls growing up to be men and women with no expectation of ever living outside the walls. The system has a name for them: juvenile lifers. Pennsylvania prisons were home to 523 of them, by far the most of any other state. But one court decision suddenly struck down what had been inescapable sentences for juvenile lifers across the country, and it changed the courses of many of their lives again. That's coming up on this Project Community Special.